The thoroughbred is a magnificent animal, bred for speed, bred to compete, the sport of kings.
Wow, West Coast has it by 6.
It's the all-new Let's Go Racing from Parks Casino and Racetrack. It's action-packed and fun for the entire family.
3 of them are right together with 1 furlong to go.
Let's Go Racing is brought to you by the Pennsylvania Thoroughbred Horsemen's Association. It's fun to see them run.
You know, I'd always had in the back of my mind that Smarty's home was Pennsylvania, and they made it very enticing to me to bring him back. I, along with a lot of other people who've spent millions of dollars in Pennsylvania, I spent a ton of money buying out syndicate members in Kentucky so that I could bring him back to Pennsylvania. It's really very devastating, I think. As devastating it is to me, it's going to hit a lot of other people a lot harder than it's hitting me. But if this goes through, it's just going to really hurt the horse industry in Pennsylvania.
A very pleasant good morning, racing fans, and welcome here to Parks Racing for Let's Go Racing. On the show today, some high-profile 3-year-olds were in action this past weekend. We'll take you down to Tampa Bay for the Sam Davis Stakes. We'll also take you out to Santa Anita for the San Vicente. We'll also be joined by Senator Tommy Tomlinson. Of course, there were issues out at Harrisburg that Dick and I were talking about last week. We have more of the particulars from the governor in his budget speech, and we'll talk about that as well here in just a little bit. And lots more action for around the country here over the next 30 minutes on Let's Go Racing. Hi, everybody. Keith Jones up on the 3rd floor today here, and my friend Dick Girardi back from the road. And Dick, we touched on it last week as we set up the program. The governor was just about to make his budget speech, but we have more specifics now. The governor wants to take over $200 million from the Horse Racing Development Fund and put it into education.
Yeah, look, nobody is going to complain about trying to help kids that don't have a lot of money to get college scholarships to state universities. The question is it supposed to all come out of one source? And I know, talking to Governor Rendell, who is obviously a huge part of getting Act 71 passed, he said there's a ton of other revenue sources for this. Not to mention the fact that after everybody thought this was locked in 2017, that no longer could the development fund get rated, so people could actually say, hey, we want to start a breeding farm. We want to bring a stallion to Pennsylvania. In Pat Chapman's case, we want to bring Smarty Jones back. It makes it very difficult for anybody to make any kind of plan in this business, and that's just no good at all. So I don't really know what the governor was thinking. We've talked about the economic impact way beyond just horse racing and the old saw of rich horse owners at the expense of kids. It's just not accurate. The vast majority of horse owners lose money.
Well, Dick, of course, after his speech last week, there was a lot of concern amongst not only the local horsemen, but the entire agriculture industry here in the Commonwealth. Our trainers met with management, you know, the PTHA management in the backstretch on Saturday. And then on Sunday, there was a huge rally at the Equistar Farm, which was the home of Smarty Jones, rallying support, of course, for the sport of horse racing. Our Let's Go Racing cameras were there.
We turned the Stallion Show into a rally for the industry, and it's fantastic to see everybody here. We can't thank you enough.
Take your time to understand the industry and understand what your proposal, how it affects tens of thousands of Pennsylvanians, how it eliminates tens of thousands of jobs. Educate yourself on exactly, should your proposal become reality, the damage that it will be done to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and its citizens.
When we went through this in 2012, when they come out and make these announcements, it really puts people in a panic in the breeding industry. They think, oh my gosh, is the money going to be there? Do I want to invest in this state and so forth? So, you know, they back down. And we thought, you know, well, we'll get all these things addressed, you know, in 2012, and we can move on a little bit, but here we go.
It's just devastating. It's devastating to us, to the farm, to our family, to all the people that work for us, to all our suppliers. It's, you know, it outreaches to the guy that built my barns, the farmers that I buy hay from, farmers I buy straw from, the feed company, the guy I buy my truck and trailer from.
One thing people probably didn't even realize is Pennsylvania is the mushroom capital of the United States. Without our byproduct, the mushroom people will be in trouble to produce their product. They are responsible for $554 million impact per year in the state of Pennsylvania.
Any Arab sheiks in the audience?
Everybody has planted their roots here because this track is a year-round racetrack and been around a while. So kids go to school here, they have tuitions that parents have to pay and try to get their kids through college as well on minimum salaries here at the track.
I think they'll fail. I don't think they can do what they're saying they're going to do to us. I mean, we have way too much going here in PA, harness and thoroughbred. It's just a big business, and I think it would be just an awful thing to get rid of it. I mean, it's the greatest thing in the world to me.
If we lose funding, it's devastating for the industry in general. In the case of one person, I'm just one person. I have about 30 people working for me. They have families, they have kids, they have homes, they live here in the Commonwealth. And then I utilize 3 farms here in the Commonwealth. We do a lot of breeding. I have horses that are getting ready to come back into training. So I mean, you think about all of those people that are employed on the farms, it's far reaching. Forget about the fact that we're going to lose green space.
I'm a second generation trainer. My father and I employ 20 people. I have 3 kids in Pennsylvania. My wife and I have been here all our lives, living in Pennsylvania, and it would be devastating. It would absolutely make us move. We would end up having to go somewhere else. It would just be tragic to the industry, tragic to me and my family.
And Dick, at that rally, there were over 1,000 people from all walks of agriculture. Even the harness racing industry showed up.
Sure.
So it just shows the kind of concern that has impermeated just about every aspect of it.
Yeah, and again, the unseen people that are involved in this business, again, away from the racetrack, the van driver, the person who's working as a groom on a farm. I mean, there are literally thousands of people who depend on the racetrack functioning well for them to be employed, and it's a huge tax base. I mean, it's all the obvious things. Again, I do think Governor Wolf's a pretty smart guy. I'm just a little baffled by this, especially since in 2017 this was supposed to have all been solved.
Yeah.
Let's just put this away and worry about some other things. So I don't get it.
Well, the elephant in the room right now is just what kind of chance is there that this could happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're going to have a chance to talk to Senator Tommy Tomlinson and find out about that when we come back after this.
Did you know the Pennsylvania horse racing industry spends tens of millions of dollars supporting agriculture, from local farmers and farm workers to veterinarians and more? And we do it with 0 tax dollars while creating tens of thousands of jobs. Did you know absolutely no taxpayer dollars support the Pennsylvania horse racing industry? In fact, racing generates $1.6 billion that pays taxes, creates jobs, and more, right here in Pennsylvania.
Looking to join the thrill and excitement of thoroughbred racehorse ownership? Pewter Stable can get you started. With more than 25 years of experience under the leadership of Greg and Kate DeMasi, Pewter Stable is one of the industry's leaders in racing partnerships, winning hundreds of races and millions of dollars at racetracks all over the Mid-Atlantic, including New York. No markup, no management fees makes our partnerships unique and affordable. We are Pewter Stable.
Welcome back, everyone, to Parks Racing for Let's Go Racing, and it is a great pleasure, and I mean a great pleasure, to welcome in Senator Tommy Tomlinson to the program today. And Senator, we thank you greatly for taking your time to join us here on the program today. We, of course, were talking about the issues that the governor brought up in his budget speech last week.
Yep.
What are the chances that he can get this done?
Well, I really don't think there's a great chance for several reasons. One, I don't think the governor or his staff, I just think the governor's been poorly served in this issue. And that is, this is a trust fund. This isn't state money that you can use for anything you want to use. It's a trust fund. And I don't really think that he's going to get a lot of support for this because there's so many flaws in it. And to just throw this money at the state system, I think is ill-served to the state system. We have structural problems that we need to address there. So I think the chances are slim.
Well, you mentioned the idea of the trust fund. Tell the folks exactly what is involved with the money and the trust fund.
Well, it's important to know that this isn't taxpayers' dollars. This is money coming from slot machines. It's a percentage that comes off the slot machines, which is gambling money, so it's not taxpayers' money. And so this money had been rated before. but never to a completely different entity like the state system of higher education. It's gone into agriculture, it's gone into other things that might be related, but it was very bad for the industry to have that money be vulnerable to anything. So we put it in a trust fund and said if anybody tries to take this, they got to pay back all that was ever taken. And I think what we needed to do for the trust fund is just show the breeders and the horsemen and the people that own these horses, the people that make this big investment, that this money's going to be there. And it's not going to be robbed and taken and used for something else. To give it stability. People need stability. So that's why it was put into a trust fund, to give stability to the people that are making these huge investments, whether it's in horses and farms and the farmers that provide the feed. There needed to be some stability and reliability, and that's what the trust fund did.
Tommy, when this act was originally passed, and I know Governor Rendell signed it right here in the Winter Circle, July of 2004, it was done because other states surrounding Pennsylvania had gotten gaming and the horse racing business was suffering because of it. Do people even remember that anymore, what the original reason for this was?
Of course not, and of course that's our problem. And as you remember, Delaware Park put slot machines in their racetrack. So a lot of our horses went down there to race for those purses. I mean, you don't blame them, but it did give us the impetus, and we had been working on this for a long time to try to get slot machines here on the racetrack, and that gave us the impetus to go even further and do that. So this was a deal. This was part of the contract, part of the pact we made that, you know, I've lived here my whole life. You know, this track's been here the majority of my life, and before this track was the track at Liberty Bell down in Philadelphia. So we've had a racetrack here. So a lot of the people that work here live here. And they're my neighbors, they're my friends, they're my constituents. So we wanted to make sure that we could preserve this horse racing tradition. So then we eventually got the slot machines. But as part of that, 11% of that went directly back into the Horsemen's Fund for purses and for that, because we knew the slot machines would take some. But we wanted this combination of a racetrack and slot machines and a casino. We liked that synergy, and we wanted to preserve that. So it was very, very important that they get a piece of that. But the public gets the bigger piece. I mean, property tax, there's 35% of this goes to property tax relief or public education. And since '06, that's been over $6 billion. That's a B. That was a B. $6 billion have gone to the public in property tax rebates to public education. So there is a lot of purposes here, the economic development, local share, the state's taking a piece of the table games. So there's a lot of use. I mean, we are actually the greatest state in the union in tax receipts to the state from casinos. And here, the industry that started it, horse racing, which is really a big part of my community here in Bensalem, and people think, oh, the suburbs of Philadelphia, southeastern Pennsylvania. No, we got a viable racetrack here, and my constituents live here and they work here. So we can't take that money away from that.
Well, Senator, get out and get to work. I mean, we had you here because that certainly sounds good to us. And knowing that you're on our side is certainly a great relief to us. And we know where you're going to be fighting and where you're going to push your chips.
I think you're going to see a lot more people on your side than we realize, or that the governor realizes. And everybody has sympathy for the state system, and everybody wants to help the system. The ironic thing is the governor took $204 million out of trust fund, but he didn't propose any increase in the state system through the taxpayers. Right. So, and that will happen. And I think the governor, once I think he's learned what this is really doing and what the impact is, 20,000 jobs. 20,000 jobs. And you know, a lot of different ethnic groups are in those jobs, and a lot of low-income people are in those jobs. And I mean, when you think of the impact in the agricultural community, you got to think twice about this. So I think that we have a good chance once we pull back the wrapper and open this up. I think the governor will realize that this was not a wise thing.
Senator, again, thank you so much for your time for coming in. Yep. Time to get to our national coverage. The national coverage is brought to you by Chapman Auto Group. Unless our emblem is on the back of your car or truck, you probably paid too much. And we start our national coverage heading down to Tampa Bay for the Grade 3 Sam Davis Stakes, 1 mile and 1/16th, and a $250,000 purse. And of course, the early Derby points here, Dick. And one of the high-profile 3-year-olds coming into the season is number 4, Independence Hall, who gets bet down to 3-5 for trainer Mike Trombetta. Yet another son of Constitution. Dick, he comes into the race 3 for 3. And none of those 3 races has even been close.
4 3/4, 12 1/4, and 4, all routes. And I voted for him as the 2-year-old champion, right? Because I wasn't going to vote for Storm the Court, who was the fluke winner of the Breeders' Cup. But I didn't vote for him with any great conviction. But he was undefeated and he looked good, and he's 3-5.
Yeah. Second choice, number 1, Oshaweed, starts here at 3-1 for trainer Kieran McLaughlin, a son of Curlin. And Dick, he has been in a couple of graded stakes coming into the race, and he has performed well, but has not gotten to the winner's circle.
I like this Remsen when he was second beat and a half, but he's in the mid-80s. Obviously, he's going to have to go faster to stay on the Derby trail.
He's expected to be coming from off the pace here in the Sam Davis. Let's go down and get the call.
They leave the half-mile marker. Premier Star has the lead. Chapaloo continues to badger on the outside second. 2 lengths farther back, Independence Hall, and Ortiz still has him in stout restraint. Racing along third, and then it's still a long, long ways back to No Getting Over Me as they approach the quarter-mile pole, and there he goes. Ortiz can wait no longer. Independence Hall goes to the lead and doing it on his own. Sol Volante is now charging second. On the outside, No Getting Over Me is trying to come back third as they turn for home. Independence Hall trying to remain undefeated. Ortiz goes to work and he still has the lead, but Sol Volante runs at the leader on the outside. We're down to 2. Independence Hall, the whip is out. On the outside, Sol Volante runs by the leader. It's Sol Volante.
Well, Dick, Independence Hall suffers his first career defeat here in the Sam Davis, gets beat by number 2, Sol Volante. Goes off at 5-1 for trainer Patrick B. Cone. Wins here by 2.5 lengths, pays $13.60 to win. Dick, what happened at the Sam Davis?
Independence Hall, it was kind of weird how he was running. His head is down. I didn't know what was going on with all that. And then he looked like he couldn't lose, and then the horse blows by him. A son of a Japanese sire, a Kentucky bred. You don't see that every day. 96 buyer. The number was good. I'm not sure where it came from. I mean, the horse has gotten a little better in each race, but that wasn't bad by Sol Volante. We'll see what's next.
Well, Dick, of course, Independence Hall, you don't want to be all cranked up here in the early part of February, so I will give him a pass and see what he comes up back with next time out.
Next time he needs to win a race. Next time, get points, get himself in that 20-stall starting gate.
You talked about Storm the Court just a minute ago.
I did.
Well, let's go out to Santa Anita. It's the Grade 2 San Vicente. Now, Dick, this is 7 furlongs, so it's kind of interesting in terms of being a Derby prep here. Dick, number 4, Nadal, gets bet down to 30 cents on the dollar for some guy named Bob Baffert. And Dick, he debuted in January and put up a huge buyer in his first race.
He did. He got a 98. He went wire to wire under a little bit of pressure and then just ran away from 6 other horses. And he's by blame, and he cost $700,000. And it is that man again, Mr. Baffert. Is this Justified Jr.? Don't know, but we're about to see some more from Nadal.
Well, number 5, Storm the Court, is the second choice here at 3-1. He is the reigning 2-year-old champion. And they put blinkers on him for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, and he responded with a victory at 45-1.
Yeah, and I thought that was kind of an underlay. I thought he should have been like 100-1, but did win. 87 buyer. I did not put him in my top 3 for 2-year-old champ, just because I just didn't think that was much of a race. I know it was the Breeders' Cup, and look, I have no problem with it being the champion. I get it and all that. Somebody had to win, but the bettors didn't want any part of them. They made Nadal 3-10, and I tossed him in the exacta trying to beat this chalk exacta. Turned out that didn't work out as well as I hoped, but
Nadal's a pretty good tennis player. Yeah,
like one of the best to ever play.
What's pretty good racehorse? Let's see what a racehorse he is. Here's the San Vicente.
Nadal just in front. Ginobili keeps the heat on the outside. They're on even terms, 3 furlongs from the money. Storm the Court is a length and a half back third. Ra'ad is next. Fast enough, moving through along the inside, trying to get third at this point. Party Town has dropped back. Ginobili ahead in front of Nadal as they pass the quarter pole and turn for home. 2.5 more to Fast Enough, then Storm the Court. Top of the stretch, Ginobili. Nadal is handridden at the rail. Nadal puts his head in front with 1/8 to go. Gets a reminder. Ginobili keeping him company. 4 in front of Fast Enough. A 16th to run. And it's Nadal just in front of Ginobili, who's running a giant race. Nadal is doing the work, though, and it will be Nadal taking care of business.
Well, Dick, this was was not an easy trip for Nadal. Really was pretty much pressured the entire way.
Yep.
I mean, there was no easy run in here.
Yep.
He does prevail, wins by 3/4 of a length, pays $2.60 to win. Number 6, Ginobili was second. Number 5, Storm the Court, was off the board. Dick Nadal, 2 for 2 for Bob.
Yeah, I thought he ran well because it was a kind of a difficult trip, as you described it, Keith, having to run the whole way from the inside. I think you had the outside post, so it would have been easier. 91 buyer, and you get that very rare grade 2 exacta of the Spanish tennis player over the Argentinian basketball player, Nadal over Ginobili.
That's a good angle for a bet.
Yeah, there you go.
Dick, let's get to our next break. We come back here on Let's Go Racing, weekly awards, much more. Be right back after this.
Turning for Home is a nonprofit that has provided nearly 2,800 former racehorses with a safe retirement. The program was created through the foresight of the Pennsylvania Thoroughbred Horsemen's Association.
We all love animals, and to give back to something that helps us so much, it's a great thing.
Responding to the need for a better system that addressed the uncertain future for the retiring equine population at Parks Racing, the PTHA rallied horsemen to support the program.
These horses can do anything from hunter jumpers to western to therapeutic riding.
Turning for Home became the first on-track retirement program at a year-round racetrack.
We want to make sure that our horses that have run so well for us over the years get the great opportunity to get a new vocation.
Out of everything that we've done in Pennsylvania for racing, I think that's the thing we can be most proud of.
If you would like to help these amazing animals find a great second career and forever home, please give us a call or contact us at turningforhome.org.
To see this many people, hardworking Pennsylvanians, come out and support the industry.
We're having our annual stallion show in promotion of the Pennsylvania breeding program, and we decided after Tuesday's announcement on the danger of losing our trust fund to open it up to all the public, all the people that it's going to affect if this money is taken away from our fund. Several people from the legislation from Harrisburg, representatives from the local feed mills, the local hayman, we have farriers, veterinarians, everybody that's going to be affected by this.
We went through this before in 2012, and we thought we had everything all worked out. And it has such a big economic impact on so many people. I can't believe that we're having the same argument again, but here we go. You know, we got to do what we got to do.
First of all, we don't plan on the governor getting his way. I mean, when he does his budget, he does a lot of wish list things, and we are totally against this. I mean, this money was put in the Racehorse Development Fund for the purpose of developing the racehorses in the industry. And he's saying to rate it? No way. You know, the next couple of weeks we have appropriations meetings. We're going to decipher the budget, and we will stick with the horse breeders because this is not going to happen.
Of course, more from that big rally at Equistar Farm. And Dick, hopefully some of those voices will be heard in Harrisburg.
No, they'll be heard.
Yeah. Well, let's get to our Jockey and Trainer of the Week, brought to you, of course, by Turning for Home program at turningforhome.org. Get involved today. Dick, Adam Bowman, the old double. You know, Adam had a career year last year.
Yes.
He rides a lot of 20-to-1s. He's riding with a lot of confidence right now. I give him some credit.
He's your jockey of the week.
Adam Bowman's my jockey of the week, and Jamie Ness has been just red hot. He's been hot everywhere. So Jamie Ness is our trainer of the week. Let's get to race recap, brought to you by Pewter Stable. Log on to their website at pewterstable.com. Become an owner today. Let's start up at Aqueduct. Dick, this is the Jimmy Winkfield Stakes. They'll be going 6 furlongs here for a purse of $100,000. And Johnny Ritt is in here for Butch at 35-1. Dick, he's prominent throughout. Is he going to get it done?
He's battling the whole way. If he isn't in a speed duel with the 2 secret rules, he's going to win this thing at 35-1 for Butch Reed. They just recently gelded this horse much better. Finishes a really good third at 35-1 for Cash is King and Glenn Bennett.
Chris DiCarlo on board. Pretty good, finishing third there at 35-1. Dick, let's get back to the West Coast. The Grade 2 Las Virgenes finished in mares at a mile for $200,000. Venetian Harbor was 30 cents on the dollar for Richard Baltus. Opened up a big lead early. They caught her, and then she just poured it on in the stretch.
Yeah, she rebroke with Flavia Pratt, and this was not close, winning by 9. Actually ran a buyer figure up 92, 1 point better than the great tennis player slash racehorse Nadal.
$2.60 to win on Venetian Harbor. Ion Racing, Dick, the Risen Star Stakes. They're already into their second group
down
now.
in Louisiana.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, they go quick down there in Louisiana. They're not playing around.
Dick, how about split divisions?
How about there's people want? Hey, look, they want to get to Kentucky that first Saturday in May.
And there's nobody scaring anybody
Not
away
at
this point. No.
yeah.
So we're going to go split divisions.
Ain't no Justify out here, I don't see, or American Pharoah.
Dick, let's get to our final break. When we come back here on Let's Go Racing, how about our man Jack Armstrong?
600.
Absolutely. We'll talk about that after this.
Racehorses are pampered.
Treated with care and loved.
Nothing is more important than their health and their safety.
We do right by them.
And they do right by us.
The hard-working folks
who proudly earn our living.
In Pennsylvania's horse racing
and breeding industries.
Horse racing is a lot of fun.
But it's so much more.
It provides tens of thousands of jobs.
Jobs. And billions in economic impact each year.
All across the Commonwealth.
Horse racing in Pennsylvania. It's a winner.
Got Aeroforce. Aeroforce is starting his third year here in Pennsylvania.
I think it's important that we make sure we mobilize everyone in the industry, both thoroughbred and standardbreds. We feel we have a good case because we do have the Racehorse Development Trust Fund, which basically states that it's not the money of the Commonwealth and they don't have any right to that.
First of all, I would like the rich horse owners to raise their hands.
Strategy is to educate legislators and Pennsylvanians to understand how important to the economy the horse racing industry is. We're a $1.6 billion economic impact. We're the major contributor to the largest industry within the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, agriculture. And there are tens of thousands of families that are hardworking, and this is how they provide food for their families.
Trying to shut down horse racing in PA would be a disaster for thousands of people. Me, I'm a driver at the Meadows, not just singling myself out, but I would have to uproot. I have a farm. I'd have to uproot and move to a neighboring state if I wanted to pursue harness racing, and that's something I definitely want to do. I want to keep it here in the Keystone State.
Here's your Triple Crown contender, Smarty Jones. We're the Kentucky Derby and Preakness.
That Racehorse Development Fund money has to stay in the hands of the horsemen. If it gets anywhere outside of that, we're all in trouble. This industry's in trouble. Our areas are in trouble that really depend on the economics of that and what happens here. So we want to make sure that we keep that money where it is, and that's in the hands of the horsemen. You know, that's why we set that trust up and worked extremely hard during that budgetary process to make sure that people aren't going in there. That's not their money. This money is not tax revenue. This is a money, we're just the holding center for that money. You know, this was agreed upon between the casino owners and the horsemen, and I think that's what they got to understand is if we don't have that money, again, it goes right back to how is it going to affect our areas that have these racehorses and the people that do the breeding. I mean, it's across the whole state. We have something special here, and that's, you know, we can be just like Kentucky. And by doing this, though, I think it really devastates the industry.
Welcome back, everyone, to Parks Racing for Let's Go Racing News and Notes. Our final segment brought to you by the Granny Fund. Get involved with continued education on the backstretch. Do it with the Granny Fund. Dick, since I've been here for over 30 years, Jack Armstrong has been one of the most prominent owners, in the history of the racetrack. How about garnering win number 600 for Jack?
And if you happen to be up here on a Saturday where we're taping on the third floor, you can wander over and see Jack's picture over here in the Hall of Fame room, and one of the good guys and one of the great owners here at the track.
Well, great to see him in the winner's circle for the 600th. He's got to have a lot of pictures.
Yes, he does.
That's going to wrap it up for this week's edition of Let's Go Racing. Join us here at the track, 12:55 post time. We'll see you next week on Let's Go Racing.